ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। नमो ॐ विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्तस्वामिन्निति नामिने। नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषशून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे। जय श्रीकृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानन्द श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौरभक्तवृंदा। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्णा हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत्। In this session, we'll be discussing from the 24th verse of the 8th chapter of the first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. Vishan Mahagne Purushada Darshanat Asatsabhaya Vanavasa Krichrataha Mridhe Neka Maharathastrato Draunyastrataschasma Harebhi Rakshitaha. The meaning of this verse, this is a prayer by Queen Kunti to Lord Krishna. My dear Krishna, your Lordship has protected us from a poison cake, from a great fire, from cannibals, from the vicious assembly, from sufferings during our exile in the forest, and from the battle where great generals fought. And now you have saved us from the weapon of Ashwatthama. So, here is a list of different dangerous encounters that Kunti Devi along with her sons had to face. So Srila Prabhupada explains this very nicely in the purport. The list of dangerous encounters is submitted herein. Devaki, because in the previous verse there is a reference to Devaki was protected as much as Kunti was also protected. But Prabhupada is comparing Devaki's situation with Kunti's situation. Devaki was once put into difficulty by her envious brother. Otherwise she was well. But Kunti Devi and her sons were put into one difficulty after another for years and years together. See the difference? Devaki, after she was imprisoned, and you see Krishna was born and Krishna was transferred to Vrindavan, and then Devaki's problems were over. But Kunti Devi and her sons were put into so many different dangerous situations, so many difficulties. They were put into trouble by Duryodhana and his party due to the kingdom. And each and every time the sons of Kunti were saved by Lord Krishna. This is the reciprocation of the Lord with his devotees. Therefore Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, Name Bhakta Pranashyati Kaunteya Pratijanihi Name Bhakta Pranashyati. My devotee will never be vanquished. And that's a fact. Though they tried to kill the Pandavas, the Kauravas could never succeed in doing so because the Pandavas were always protected by Krishna without any doubt. So, it begins with Vishan. Vishan means once Bhima was administered poison in a cake. Bhima was administered poison in a cake. The Pandavas and Kauravas, they grew up in the same palace in Hastinapura, and Dhritarashtra was the caretaker king, and the grandfather of the Pandavas and Kauravas, Bhishma, he appointed Dronacharya to teach and coach the princes, both the Kauravas, the 100 sons of Dhritarashtra, and the 5 sons of Pandu, the Pandavas. 105 students Dronacharya had, and he coached them very nicely in military science because they were Kshatriyas. Now, in such training time, it was very clearly evident that Bhima was the strongest among all the 105 princes undergoing the training. So Bhima would playfully, very easily defeat, anybody, any of the other princes. Especially Duryodhana became very, very envious of Bhima. He thought that Bhima is so very strong and so very good in fighting that it will be impossible for me to actually face him in combat one-on-one. So Duryodhana, with a evil mind, asuric mentality, he decided, let me kill this Bhima, and he administered a trick. Once he organized a kind of a picnic for all the princes, and they all went and they were playing, and then he arranged that food be served in the picnic spot, and he had made sure secretly that one of the items, the cake which was to be served to all the princes, Bhima's cake was poisoned. So Bhima was given that cake, and he didn't suspect anything. He just ate it, and after eating a little while, he started feeling very, very drowsy. And Bhima tried to remain awake, and somehow he was feeling extremely sleepy. So he went off somewhere and just completely slept off. And all the princes then were going back, and suddenly the Pandavas, the 5 of them, or 4 of them, other than Bhima, they noticed Bhima is missing. So they are searching and searching and searching and searching. Where is Bhima? What has Duryodhana done? He has arranged that secretly Bhima be thrown into a river. And because he was completely asleep, effect of the poison, so he was kind of unconscious. And then he was thrown into the river. He drowned in the river. And he went to the bottom of the river. He was carried away by the waves. And he ended up in one of the lower regions of this universe, and where the Nagas reside. And the chief of the Nagas knew what this Duryodhana had done. And the chief of the Nagas actually administered some medicine to this Bhima, this boy, this prince, young boy. And he came back to his external senses and he's saying, where am I? What happened? Then the chief of the Nagas explained to him that you have been poisoned by Duryodhana. And then Bhima could remember, we had gone for a picnic. And what happened? We had lunch. And then he can't remember. Then he said, you are poisoned. And therefore you were thrown into the river and you have ended up here. And one of the Naga serpents who was in that bottom of the river brought Bhima to his chief. And Bhima then was given a special medication to increase his strength to that of 10,000 elephants. So Bhima became very, very, very strong. And then the Nagas again brought him back to that river and left him on the bank of that river. And then Bhima was missing from the palace for some days. And Kunti was very worried, and so were Yudhishthira, Nakula, Sahadeva, Arjuna, all of them were worried. What happened? And the Kauravas, Duryodhana knew, of course, what was going on. But he went, oh, where is Bhima? Where is Bhima? Let's search for him. Maybe he is somewhere in the woods. Maybe he is been taken by somebody else. Maybe he has gone away for hunting. So many things. They just made a cover up. And finally Bhima suddenly showed up. And then Kunti was very, very pleased. Duryodhana was very apprehensive. How did he come back? What happened? Duryodhana did not know. Then Bhima revealed secretly that there is a plot to kill me. There was a plot. And by Krishna's mercy, I was saved. And Bhima, in this way, was actually saved from being killed by Krishna's arrangement. It was Krishna's arrangement. Then once they were put into a house made of shellac. Now each of these dangers that are mentioned, it is elaborately explained in the Mahabharata. So I'll not be able to explain each and every particular danger like that. But in brief, I may state that another attempt was made to burn the Pandavas alive by sending them to a new palace that was constructed, but it was made of combustible material, shellac. And Duryodhana's plan was to set fire when they were all settled inside nicely one particular night. So Vidura came to know about it, and Vidura informed Yudhishthira, you're being sent to a palace which is going to be set fire, be careful. So Yudhishthira, through Vidura's help, he dug a tunnel. As soon as they went in to the palace, he dug a tunnel, and before escaping through the tunnel, underground tunnel, Yudhishthira himself set fire to that palace. And then after that, the Pandavas with Kunti escaped, and then that's the way they were saved from that fire. So then Draupadi was dragged out and attempted to be stripped naked once in a gambling match. Somehow that gambling match that happened. And Draupadi was saved by Krishna, who supplied her unlimited length of a sari. They tried to disrobe her by pulling her sari, but Draupadi was supplied with unlimited sari, so they could not strip her naked at all. Krishna saved her. She cried out, Krishna, because the Pandavas were unable to intervene because they had lost themselves in the gambling match. So they were unable to save her. And the other elders in the assembly did not interfere with this Duryodhana and Dushasana's misdeed, because Draupadi also was kind of lost in the gambling match, and she would become a kind of a servant to the Kauravas, something like that. Then when they were exiled in the forest, Bhima had to fight with the man-eater demon Hidamba, a Rakshasa. So one Rakshasa, man-eater. But Bhima killed this Rakshasa. Again, Krishna's mercy that Bhima was empowered to kill this man-eater, who was a very dangerous Rakshasa, who had killed many humans and devoured them and eaten their flesh. Such a dangerous man-eater was killed by Bhima because he was empowered by the Lord. Then after all this tribulation, there was the great battle of Kurukshetra. Arjuna had to meet such great generals as Drona, Bhishma, Karna, all very, very powerful fighters. But Krishna, he protected Arjuna and the Pandavas, and no harm was done by the Kauravas. Even though the Kauravas were very powerful, they could not do any harm to the Pandavas. And at the end, when Parikshit was in the womb of Uttara, then Ashwatthama released a Brahmastra to kill the child. But Krishna saved Krishna personally entered the womb of Uttara and saved the child. So in this way, the Pandavas were protected by Krishna at all times, whenever there was danger to their life, whenever there was any difficulty. So I'll stop here. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.